The story kicks off at Alcatraz, the most dangerous prison in the world. Built on an island right in the middle of the ocean, it boasts a flawless record. No prisoner has ever managed to escape from it. Next, we meet Frank, an incredibly sharp criminal who has already broken out of multiple prisons in the past. That is exactly why he has been sent to this impossible prison. The moment he steps inside, the guards treat Frank ruthlessly and lock him up in a tiny cell. The warden of this prison is absolutely brutal and treats the inmates like animals. The very next morning, the warden calls Frank into his office and gives him a straight warning. He tells him to never break the rules here, adding that no one has ever escaped Alcatraz, so he better get the thought of breaking out of his head forever. But the warden's threat does not faze Frank at all. He just silently stares right back at him. And right in the middle of this conversation, Frank smoothly steals a nail clipper from the warden's desk. It seems like a tiny thing, but Frank knows it could be a massive help in a place like this. As soon as he gets back to his cell, he hides the nail clipper inside a Bible. A little later, during the group shower, an inmate named Wolf starts messing with Frank. Frank grabs him and beats him to a pulp. This instantly earns Frank a solid reputation in the prison, and after that, nobody tries to mess with him. Slowly, the prison library becomes Frank's second home. There, he meets the prison librarian, Victor. Victor is serving a life sentence, so he gave up any hope of getting out a long time ago and buried himself in books. Both Frank and Victor share a deep love for history books, which sparks a good friendship between them. Around this time, Frank also meets a guy named Doc. Doc is an amazing artist who spends most of his time painting. Doc believes that anyone could easily lose their mind in this hellhole, but his painting habit is the only thing that has kept him sane so far. That same evening, a guard tells Frank about a carpentry job that pays 15 cents an hour, but Frank's troubles are far from over. One day, while all the inmates are out of their cells, Wolf comes back for revenge, but this time, Wolf has a sharp makeshift weapon and wants Frank dead. Right at the last second, Doc spots him and yells out to warn Frank. Frank quickly whips off his jacket and uses it to block Wolf's attack. A brutal fight breaks out between the two. When the guards step in to break it up, an enraged Wolf attacks a guard as well. After the brawl, both men are thrown into solitary confinement in D Block. This is the darkest, most isolated cage in the entire prison, and nobody ever wants to end up there. Frank is absolutely furious that he is getting punished just for defending his own life. After spending 2 agonizing weeks in that hole, Frank finally gets out. When he returns to his cell, an inmate named Litmus sends him a welcome note delivered by his pet mouse. Once settled back in, Frank strikes up a friendship with his cell neighbor, Charlie. Charlie is doing time for a massive grand theft auto case. He tells Frank that his biggest regret is trying to make a run for the border because that one stupid mistake turned his crime into a much bigger deal. The next day, the warden decides to do a surprise inspection of the prison. During the sweep, he spots a portrait of himself in Doc's cell. Flexing his power and ego, the warden instantly orders the guards to throw every single one of Doc's paintings out of the prison. This cruel decision completely breaks Doc inside. His paintings were literally the only reason he was still surviving in that place. The very next day, while working, Doc intentionally chops off 3 of his own fingers. It is his silent, bloody rebellion against the warden. Seeing this, the guards frantically call for a doctor, while Frank just stands there silently, watching Doc writhe in pure agony. That night, while Frank is sitting in his cell, he spots a cockroach crawling out of the air vent. Watching it, a realization hits him. This air vent might just be a ticket out of there. Right then, Victor tells him the real reason the warden tossed all of Doc's paintings. He simply did not like how he looked in the portrait. The next day at lunch, Frank bumps into 2 brothers named John and Clarence. They recognize Frank from an old prison they all served time in. While chatting, the brothers complain that escaping Alcatraz is completely impossible since it is surrounded by water, and they are basically stuck there for the rest of their lives. But this conversation plants the seed of a brand new plan in Frank's mind. Frank wants to make history. He wants to be the very first person to break out of this rock. That very night, Frank pulls out the nail clipper he stole from the warden's office and starts chipping away at the concrete around his cell's vent grill. Whenever he hears the guard's footsteps echoing down the hall, he quickly hides the clipper inside his Bible and pretends to read so no one gets suspicious. Slowly but surely, his hard work starts paying off, and the concrete around the grill begins to crumble. Meanwhile, during visiting hours, Victor is super hesitant to talk to his daughter because she has grown up so much while he has been locked away. It crushes Victor that he completely missed out on her childhood. On the flip side, Charlie learns from his wife that his elderly mother is seriously sick, and the doctors say she only has a few months left to live. Hearing this ignites a massive, desperate urge inside Charlie to break out of prison too. The next morning at breakfast, Frank lays out his master plan to John and Charlie. Frank explains that years of salty ocean water and heavy moisture have severely weakened the prison walls. They can easily chip away the rotting concrete, pull out the ventilation grills, and use the shafts to find a way to freedom. Frank's plan is to crawl through those grills, reach the utility pipes, and make their way outside. But the million-dollar question remains. Once they are out of the building, how are they going to cross the ocean? Frank points out that Clarence works in the prison's clothing department, meaning he can slowly smuggle out raincoats and rubber cement. Frank assures the crew that with those supplies, he can build a makeshift life raft and life jackets. The whole crew loves the plan, and they immediately get to work. Every day, Frank grinds away at digging through his cell wall while Charlie keeps a lookout for the guards. They are making progress, but the nail clipper is way too small and dull, making the whole process take forever. Pushing so hard leaves Frank's hands totally busted and bleeding. The next morning, he tells the crew they desperately need a bigger, much stronger tool. That is when Frank gets a genius idea. He spots his metal spoon, quickly rubs it against his shoe to make it look filthy, and complains about it to the guard. The rest of the guys back him up and ask the guard to swap the spoon. The guard doesn't suspect a thing and gives them the green light to get a replacement. When they walk up to the front desk, John completely distracts the guard by talking his ear off. Taking full advantage of the distraction, Frank smoothly slips an extra spoon right into his pocket. But Frank isn't done yet. He strikes a deal with Litmus, trading away 20 days worth of his dessert rations to gather some other crucial supplies. After that, Frank melts down the spoon and fuses it with the nail clipper and a coin to forge a brand new heavy-duty tool. This makeshift chisel proves to be way more effective at breaking through the wall than just the clipper. To make their plan completely foolproof, Charlie creates fake ventilation grills. This way, when they finally make their escape, they can easily swap out the real grills with the fake ones, leaving the guards completely clueless. One night, Frank decides to head up into the shafts alone to scout the escape route. He places a fake dummy head in his bed, pops the fake grill into place, and slips into the utility pipes. Once he climbs up, he spots a massive, heavy iron door, but he can't reach it all by himself. Right at that exact moment, a guard is doing his cell block rounds. When the guard walks past Frank's cell, he senses something is a little off, but by sheer luck, the crew manages to dodge the bullet. After that close call, they realize they need to tweak their master plan. The next morning, while Frank and Charlie are talking it over, John and Clarence reveal that they have already finished making their own dummy heads. With everything falling into place, the crew decides to stick together and push forward. That very night, John and Charlie head back up to the iron door. By boosting each other up, they finally manage to reach it. Taking a closer look, they realize the door can actually be cut open, but they are going to need a seriously powerful tool to pull it off. The next day during music class, Charlie spots an old electric fan. The second he sees it, he knows the motor inside is exactly what they need. He immediately trades all of his dessert rations with Litmus to get his hands on it. To smuggle the fan out of the classroom, Charlie stashes it inside an instrument case and casually walks right out. The moment Frank gets his hands on the fan, he strips the motor and engineers a makeshift motorized drill. Armed with their new power tool, the guys head back up to the iron door, and this time, they manage to cut right through the heavy metal. But cutting through the door makes a ton of noise. The sound actually reaches the guards, but they brush it off, thinking it is just normal prison noise. Meanwhile, Frank and his crew finally have a completely clear path to the roof. They make the ultimate call. Tuesday night is the night they break out of this hellhole forever. But on Tuesday morning at breakfast, a brand new problem pops up. Frank places a flower on the table to honor Doc. As soon as the warden spots it, he walks over, reminds Frank of the strict prison rules, and cruelly crushes the flower right under his boot. Seeing this disgusting act makes Litmus so furious that he lunges forward to attack the warden, but he suddenly suffers a massive heart attack and collapses right there on the floor. A little while later, the warden orders a surprise shakedown of Frank's cell, but he comes up completely empty-handed. Frustrated, the warden orders the guards to move Charlie and Frank to different cells the very next day. This means tonight is literally their one and only chance to escape. On top of that, Wolf has just been released from solitary and is about to jump Frank again, but Victor steps in and tackles Wolf before he can make a move. That night, Frank, John, Charlie, and Clarence all agree to meet up inside the utility pipes. But at the absolute last second, Charlie completely freezes up in panic and backs out. The other three stick to the plan and move forward, leaving a helpless Charlie behind to watch his dream of freedom slip away. Meanwhile, Frank and the brothers pass through the cut iron door and make it all the way up to the roof, where they have to carefully dodge the blazing searchlights. Back in his cell, Charlie finally snaps out of it and realizes he made a massive mistake. He decides to make a run for it and scrambles through the pipes as fast as he can. But when he reaches the iron door, he realizes he can't climb up on his own. Because of his fear, Charlie just threw away his only ticket out of Alcatraz. On the flip side, dodging the sweeping searchlights, Frank, John, and Clarence finally reach the outer wall of the prison. They double-check to make sure the coast is completely clear, and then silently scale the wall, dropping down outside the prison's perimeter. The three inmates dart across a deserted road and head straight down to the rocky shoreline. Knowing that every single second counts, they keep completely quiet and get right to work. They start frantically blowing air into their makeshift raincoat raft. Inflating an entire raft by mouth sounds like an impossible task, but fighting for their freedom, the trio actually pulls it off. Minutes later, they leave the shores of Alcatraz behind forever and vanish into the dark, freezing waves of the ocean. The next morning, when the guards come by for their routine head count, everything seems totally normal at first. They notice Frank is still sleeping in his bed, but when he doesn't move for a long time, a guard reaches through the bars and pulls back the blanket. His jaw drops in absolute shock. Frank isn't in the bed at all. It is just the dummy head he crafted. Within seconds, the blaring prison alarms echo through the halls, and the impossible news spreads like wildfire. Alcatraz has been breached. They quickly realize that John and Clarence are missing too. The entire area goes into full lockdown, and a massive manhunt is launched, with boats and helicopters scanning every single inch of the bay. But despite the massive search, they don't find a single trace of Frank or his crew. A lot of the cops assume they must have drowned in the freezing, rough waters, but deep down, the warden knows the truth. The trio completely outsmarted him and successfully made it out alive. The warden is now facing the massive pressure of saving the prison's flawless reputation. So, to save face in front of the world, he officially declares all three men dead. But in reality, absolutely no one buys his story. And with that, this insane story based on true events wraps up right here. Let me know what you guys thought of the video down in the comments, and definitely do not forget to smash that subscribe button. I will catch you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.